Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. We're excited to co-host today's webinar with our partner, Guardian Alliance Technologies. My name is John Kennedy. I'm Director of Education and Training for the FBI National Academy Associates. Today's presentation is entitled 21st Century Social Media Screening. I'd like to thank Guardian Alliance Technologies for their continued support, partnership, and commitment to law enforcement by sharing their expertise, technology, and information with our FBI National Academy Associates members and constituents. For those of you on the line who may not be familiar with the FBI National Academy Associates, we are a nonprofit international organization of 17,000 senior law enforcement executives dedicated to providing our communities, states, countries, and the profession with the highest degree of law enforcement expertise, training, education, and information. We are the strongest law enforcement leadership network in the world and dedicated to strengthening the rule of law around the globe. It's through our 44 state and 4 international chapters that the FBI National Academy Associates bridges federal, state, municipal, and international law enforcement agencies, as well as private sector partners such as Guardian Alliance Technologies, to share their expertise, technology, and knowledge. These 48 chapters are the heart of the FBI National Academy Associates. It's at the chapter level where our members, families, and communities are professionally, socially, and personally linked to each other in their region's law enforcement network. Now it gives me extreme pleasure to introduce to you Ryan Lane, who's the Chief Executive Officer of Guardian Alliance Technology. Ryan, it's all yours.
Thank you, John. On behalf of the Guardian team, we're honored to have the opportunity to speak to your members today. We're proud to be an Alliance sponsor and consider it a privilege to partner with such a prestigious organization as the FBI National Academy Associate and support its mission. I'd like to welcome all of our listeners to today's webinar, Social Media Screening for the 21st Century. My name is Ryan Lane, and I have the privilege of serving as the CEO and Director of Business Development for Guardian. Before we get into today's topic, I would like to take just a couple of minutes to share with our listeners who we are, what we do, and where we are headed. I'll then turn the call over to our speakers today so we can get into the challenges facing law enforcement as it relates to social media screening and the hiring process, and the solution that Guardian is providing to address these challenges. Although today's webinar is scheduled for 1 hour, we do plan to get through this presentation in the next 20 minutes, so we have plenty of time for our Q&A. Guardian's mission is to protect the integrity of the law enforcement profession through innovative solutions, technology, and strategic partnerships that streamline the process of vetting and hiring law enforcement professionals. Built for law enforcement by law enforcement is more than a tagline. Guardian was founded by Justin Bettinger, a retired police officer with the Stockton PD. Justin spent 13 years with Stockton and his last 3 years as an investigator, where he witnessed firsthand how using outdated technology and processes cost his agency time, money, and most importantly, good candidates. He knew there could be a better way. As it is our mission to serve law enforcement, we understand the importance of making sure that everything we do comes with input from experienced law enforcement professionals. We are honored and humbled by the support we have and continue to receive through our advisory board. All of our current advisors are National Academy graduates, including 2017 and 2016 presidents, Chief Joey Reynolds and Captain Barry Thomas. Collectively, our board represents county, city, and state level agencies. Our flagship background investigation software is a cloud-based, easy-to-use application developed to improve the speed and quality of investigations used to evaluate a candidate's suitability. Our application is highly intuitive, and there is no installation or maintenance required. Additionally, Guardian complies with the FBI CJIS security policy. An exclusive and key component to the centralized cloud-based application that Guardian provides is its enhanced communication capabilities it offers investigators and law enforcement agencies on a national basis. In addition to the data analysis and intelligent reporting, which produces accurate, up-to-date tracking of an applicant's background investigation and pass or fail status, Guardian's National Applicant Information Center allows investigators and agencies on the platform to share information securely and electronically. What we want our listeners on the call today to understand is that our platform is much more than just a background investigation software. We utilize and manage the network effect, wherein the more agencies who adopt Guardian, the smarter and more useful it becomes. Every time a new agency joins and a new applicant is entered, every agency on the platform benefits. By tracking applicant data and connecting agencies, it becomes much more difficult for applicants to game the system and attempt to deceive investigators while at the same time making investigations more efficient and thorough. The Guardian Alliance represents a nationwide community whose members have collectively joined forces to enhance policing and improve public trust. Today, we are excited to announce and introduce you to the latest member to join the Guardian Alliance, FBINAA Technologies. Now, at this time, I would like to introduce our next speaker so we can get into today's topic. David Boggs is a retired police chief with the Broken Arrow Police Department of Oklahoma. He's an FBI N.A.I.C graduate, Session 223. He was the 2015 president of FBINAA. He is on the IACP Professional Standards Image and Ethics Committee, and he is a Guardian Advisory Board member. David, at this time, I'd like to go ahead and give the floor to you.
Thanks, Ryan. And thank you for everyone that's joining us today. You know, in law enforcement for many years, and then as a police chief, I've spent a lot of time worrying. Some things we all experience, like lawsuits, pursuits, and the realities of politics, are all important, but largely they're perils of the job. What really kept me up at night, especially as a police chief, was the larger question to myself: am I doing everything I can to protect my employees, the organization, and the community that we serve? And I bet everybody on this call tends to ask themselves the same question. As we all know, hiring employees today has gotten much more complicated. Finding adequate numbers of candidates, changing societal standards for drug use, and the introduction of heavy social media usage have changed the landscape that we all have to pay attention to. The good thing is that every officer I know understands and believes in the concept of fair and impartial policing. Our ability to deliver quality policing to every citizen on each call is foundational for all of us, and it reaches back to Sir Robert Peel in the very beginning of our profession. This concept is an anchor, and it grounds us for decision-making and gives direction in personnel decisions and other choices we're all going to have to make. The next item worthy of discussion is one of how our natural tendencies or biases tend to impact us. At the outset, we all have great ideas about what makes the perfect law enforcement candidate. Biases towards our own beliefs are normal, and they actually help the brain process large volumes of information with a reduced amount of thought. When given the choice of ice cream, it's easy for me because I prefer chocolate over vanilla. And while this might seem kind of simplistic, it speaks to how our natural tendencies are used to make decisions in our everyday life. If the brain had to actually process every decision independently, we'd never get anything done. Driving, for example, would always be like driving a car for the first time. The kinds of cars we prefer, the color of paint in our homes, all reflect who we are and how we think and process choices. It's also normal for our choices to have an additive impact on each other. The more times I get to choose ice cream, the continual validation of my decision that chocolate is the right one for me can lead to something called confirmation bias. Even though in my heart I know that other types of ice cream are not bad, they're just not my preferred type. Taken in the context of ice cream, that's pretty relatively harmless. But if I allow myself to do the same thing with someone else's religious beliefs, the outcome can be quite hurtful on not just a community level, but a personal one as well. In today's world, social media changes our ability to communicate those thoughts and beliefs. The anonymity of social media platforms lends itself to open up and say things we might or might not be willing to say in person. As law enforcement professionals, we know it's our job to make sure that everything we say or do, both personally and professionally, speaks to how we represent our agencies and the communities that we serve. And while each of us know this, how we screen people coming into the profession or spot check current employees is becoming of paramount importance. Social media is also the latest area that each of us as leaders are required to manage the risk for our agencies and our personnel. We've all seen examples lately in our partner agencies where seemingly harmless choices like liking things and posting have changed the flavor of public trust for entire agencies and cities. I'm certainly not trying to discount in any way clearly offensive posts. Those stand alone as intolerable. But lots of little posts can also tell us a lot about the heart set and mindset of a person. For years, we've known that social media was growing and evolving as a means to express ourselves. And now as leaders, we need a way to manage the risk associated with applicants and employees' social media accounts. When looking for a solution, Guardian has partnered with a cutting-edge software provider, FBINAA, who delivers state-of-the-art social media screening powered by artificial intelligence. If you're wondering, do I really need this? You need to ask yourself the following question. How much time are you spending looking at each person's social media profile? If the answer to that's less than 2 hours per applicant, it begs the question, are we being thorough enough? But if it's more than 2 hours per applicant, then you can't afford not to look at this product. Time and manpower are the most precious resources we actually have. Doing more with less has become a way of life, but at some point we have to find ways to work smarter, and this partnership will provide that. To give a better overview of the software, I'm actually going to pass this off now to Ben Moniz with FBINAA. Take it away, Ben.
Thanks a lot there, David. Yeah, and good morning, good afternoon, depending upon where folks are down in. My name is Ben Moniz. I'm the CEO of a company called FBINAA. We are a proud partner of Guardian and thrilled to be working with the team over there and also with the law enforcement community more generally. So today we're not going to dig too deeply into the technology and the ins and the outs, how it works. We can always cover that after today's webinar, but we really want to focus today on kind of why our solution, the social media screening, identifying the sorts of behaviors that don't appear typically in a PHQ, that don't appear in a background investigation, that a officer coming into an organization will rarely say, yeah, I hold a certain biased view. Yeah, I might be bigoted or sexist towards women, and how that might affect their ability to do their job. We're going to just talk about today how we can use social media to uncover some of that insight in a way that respects candidates' privacy, but at the same time, get a department what they need when they need it in the background investigation process. But I thought, as a starting point, might tell you guys a little bit about how I started the company, why I got this company off the ground, and why it's important for us today here. So my background, enterprise software. So I've been a software entrepreneur for my entire career. I've done a couple of different companies. This is actually my fourth startup that I've done, and none of them were in HR previously, but all the companies that I've been a part of have all started with something I experienced personally, felt I needed to solve, and went out there and partnered with some of the best technologists in the world to solve for it. So a couple of years ago, 2011 actually, almost a decade now ago, I can't believe that. 2011, I was working at another startup as an early employee. We were in a high growth mode. We were looking to bring on a new executive, a VP of sales actually. And this was a person that, you know, a type of role we've been looking to fill for months. We interviewed dozens of candidates, and we finally found one candidate that really fit the bill, fit the script. We love this guy who was referred by our board of directors. He came in for the in-person interview, passed with flying colors, and we said, you know what, this is our guy. This is the guy we want to bring on board. About 6 months into the job, as you can see on this fun little graphic here on the screen going left to right, 6 months into the job, this guy sexually assaulted one of our top salespeople at the company. It was not only a horrible experience for the victim, but you know, for the company more generally, it set off a chain of events that drove the company into, candidly, financial peril. And it was something that affected the company in such an extreme way, this one single event, that there was 80% turnover in our organization in the next 12 months. So the 150-person company nearly turned over 100% based on one single event that happened. And you see there on the right, that graphic there, meant to communicate all over this guy's social media. After the fact, we found this pejorative, misogynistic content about women that, had we seen it, we never would have brought this guy on board. So I started the company really out of this concept of saying human behavior is going to drive business results, whether it's interactions with customers or, in the case of law enforcement, interaction with the community, whether it's interactions with other people inside of a company, officers, sergeants, et cetera, inside of a police department, police organization. How will those behaviors impact others in our ability to deliver on our promise to our customers, or in the case of law enforcement, our promise to the community? So we'll see on the next slide here sort of the foundations of our technology. So when we got the company off the ground, and there's a lot of text here, I know, so we'll walk through it here in a sec, but when we got the company off the ground, there was an interesting question for us, which was, well, how are we going to do this? Are we going to go out there? Are we going to score? Is this software that we're building from the ground up going to rank and determine if someone is a racist or if someone is a violent person? Can we use technology alone to do that? And the answer is no, you can't. You can't just put a number on a person, give a thumbs up or a thumbs down or a recommendation, because many different organizations in the private sector, organizations in the public sector have varying degrees of acceptability around what they consider good, what their personnel research standards look like. There might be some criteria that vary company to company, agency by agency, and as a technology company, we have to solve for that. So that was kind of the first piece. So you see on the left, customized. Technology allows us to do, and this is, we've raised about $10 million in venture capital as a business. We've funneled all of that into research and development, building this solution. So what we designed the technology to do was take what you care about as an agency, not what the company, not what we care about as FBINAA, not what someone else tells you should care about. We allow you to take your credo, your community values, plug that into our application, and then match directly against what you care about as a company. Now, we've been actually working with the team at Guardian and their outstanding advisory board on establishing a law enforcement flag kit that's reflective of the standards from values, from points of view, from how we think about the issues that are most relevant to law enforcement. We've been partnering with Guardian to develop a flag kit ready for the law enforcement industry. So you're going to have that right off the bat through the partnership here, where you're going to get the best-in-class recommendations on here are some of the community values that we're driving home that we think are relevant when you're screening a new person coming into your org, but you can configure that and customize it yourself. What the software then does is it'll take a candidate's information all, directly through a web-based app, and that's the name, the email, all the stuff that you have, address, the former employer, et cetera. And the software automatically goes out and finds all the publicly available social media, news, and web information about the individual. From there, the artificial intelligence kicks in. And what that means is that the software will identify for you any reference to a particular topic that you deemed relevant. We're not going to tell you if a person is good or bad, or there's a thumbs up or a thumbs down on an individual. There's no scoring, no ranking. But what we are going to do is help you identify what the most critical types of behaviors are that you deem relevant when you're screening and bringing someone new into your organization. And you as a background investigator, someone may, not sure how many background investigators are on the call here, but background investigators on your team, other end users that are involved in administration or in hiring, will be able to actually view that content as it exists online, and you make the judgment call on whether or not this is a reflection of your community values or not. So we allow you to take the things that a background investigator might be looking for already in a manual social media search and do that via automation, which means that you get a certain completeness, meaning that you're going to get a same search every single time. It's not just social media, it's anything on Google, on the publicly available web, a sex offender database, a variety of different sources that we can go out there and check on your behalf without your team doing any of the work. And the software will flag for you any references to online behaviors that you deem as relevant. So that will be made available, as you see here, in the Guardian system. It's all accessible via the cloud, so you can log in from your laptop, from your tablet, from your mobile device, from your workstation at work. Any of these different options are going to work for you to get the information you need on a candidate, and all your background investigators have to do is click a button. Our software does the rest. So that's a quick overview of the solution. We're not going to go too deep, as I mentioned, into how each piece of it works, but just on the next slide, just to kind of encapsulate some of why this is so important, there's sort of four pieces we've seen, and we've been lucky enough to actually begin working with a few law enforcement agencies. We actually got started in the private sector, as I alluded to with the founding story. We were lucky to count every pro sports league on our platform, screening all their players and personnel. So any baseball, football, basketball, golf fans on the call know that those leagues are using our software as well. We have a number of other large private sector, highly compliant financial services institutions, large technology companies, hospital systems, and law enforcement has been one of our hottest verticals in 2019, meaning we're seeing a ton of inbound interest, largely driven some of the news stories out of Philadelphia and the CBP over the past couple of months. So we've been learning a lot. We're excited to learn more from law enforcement, but there's a couple of key values here. This question of community trust. How do I ensure we all know that, you know, this is a job that is community first. This is about the people that we serve. This is about the communities in which we operate. To ensure that those community values are well aligned with our department values, our agency values, is key to establishing open, honest, and constructive engagements with the community around us and working with the community as if they're our peers and the people that we serve, which they are, right? So one of the things that we've seen that a lot of agencies have gotten excited about is this allows me to do a quick diagnosis and a quick level set on, is this candidate reflective of my community values? And if so, what are the things, if not really, what are the things that I need to focus on and kind of dial in on and chat with this person about? Because it doesn't mean you have to fire a person, not hire them. It can be just as simple as saying, hey, just so you know, we saw you post this thing online. It's not what we stand for here, and here's why. And it's that simple level set that can kind of change the discussion rather than saying, hey, you can't be here. We've also seen a lot of bits around teamwork from law enforcement, you know, sitting in a car 10 to 12 hours a day with your partner, making sure that that person, when in some cases you may have just 2 seconds to make a decision, that that person's going to act from a core fundamental, from an instinct standpoint, in a way that the department expects. The third piece we've seen is comprehensiveness. So the ability to do a complete search. A lot of background investigators today, when they do a social media search, kind of do it right there on the fly, sitting with the candidate. They might not be totally complete in searching all publicly available content. They might not find the fake burner account that somebody set up, you know, explicitly before this meeting. They might, you know, not get the complete 360 view just because it's people, not a sense of skill or anything like that, but people don't do things as consistently as a computer does. And so one of the things that we found is that the completeness of our search has been a major value add for a lot of the agencies we've begun working with here. And the fourth piece is the disrespect to candidates' privacy. You're not looking at anything that's private. You're not looking at anything that might be considered a privacy violation when it comes to this type of search. Our combined technology will protect any end user and the candidate from any privacy violation. So we're only going to look at what's publicly available. We're only going to look what we have consent to take a look at, and that's it. There's no subterfuge or surreptitious method that we're going to deploy to ever, you know, do anything that would violate a person's privacy. So those are some core fundamentals. Happy to dig in a lot deeper, but wanted to start there with the team. So I'll kick it back to the folks at Guardian.
Well, thank you, Ben. You know, we're honored to have you as part of the Guardian Alliance, and we're very excited about the value that you're going to be bringing our clients and our partners. So for those of you out there that are asking, so how do I get access to this? So there's a couple ways that you can access the solution. Our first is through the integrated solution. Our current customers and those agencies that are looking to streamline their background investigation process with the Guardian platform will be made available through the integration. The nice thing about that, without getting too far in the weeds, is that it requires really no data entry or busy work on behalf of the investigator or the background unit. Our software will capture all of the data on the applicant in the PHQ. FBINAA will then do its thing, and then we will return that report right into the background investigation. So it's completed, very, very simple. The other way that we can do this is through a standalone solution. So it's similar to like a credit report or a credit check. When you're running credit reporting on your applicants, you're just simply going to put that data in, and then you wait to get the report back. And we can facilitate this in the same way as that via a very simple service agreement with Guardian, and we can talk to you guys more about that as well. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to send over through the chat here, I'm going to send you guys our website along with a link to where you can request a demo. So everybody should have got that now. And that's where you can reach out to our team and you can set up a call and we can get into this with your team and make sure you better understand, you know, how this works and how we can assist you guys. Now, as we jump into our Q&A here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to share a couple of just quick questions with you guys so we can kind of better understand what you're currently doing as it relates to social media screening and how important this is to your process. So we've got a couple of polls. This is pretty straightforward. I'm going to go ahead and launch those as well. And what that will do is share with you, if you could just answer some questions about that, give us a little bit better understanding of where you guys are at and how we can better assist you guys. So with that being said, why don't we go ahead and move into the Q&A. For those of you who'd like to ask questions, there should be at the bottom of your screen a little Q&A box. You can simply open that up and type your question in. And as the questions come in, we can field those. And I will say that the call is completely crowded out. We've actually overflowed, so bear with us today as we get through the Q&A here. Anything that we are not able to directly answer on this call, we will make sure that we follow up with, make sure everybody gets their questions answered. So let's just start coming down the road here. First one from Mark, is the final report available in a printable format? And the answer is yes. Depending on whether or not you're going through the Guardian software or you're using it as a standalone solution, what will happen is you'll have a combination of either an HTML report, which is printable, and then when it comes to the Guardian solution, it is provided as a PDF in the background and the final narrative, and that is printable as well. Let's see here. Cost, of course. Okay, so depending on, again, how we do this, right now, volume will be determinant of your cost, but just to kind of give a high level for everybody, our current ceiling for this check is $40 per applicant, okay? We would definitely encourage you guys to reach out to us so we can talk about how we can streamline those costs for you and then make your background more efficient. But $40 is going to be the cost right now to run an applicant through the system. And as David alluded to earlier, you know, we're able to within, on average, it's about 3 to 4 hours, but no more than 24 hours. Generally speaking, we will have a complete report back to you. And Ben, feel free to correct me if I'm wrong here, but it's my understanding that your software will go all the way back 7 years on the candidate and touch every part of the public web. So you're really getting an incredibly thorough report. It would not even be possible to do that in, I guess, under 2 hours with manpower. Is that accurate?
Yep, that's right.
Okay, and then with compliance, can you speak to just a little bit about the FCRA and EEOC compliance?
Sure. Yeah. So from a FCRA standpoint, this is a solution that fits the bill from a consumer reporting agency perspective, meaning it's maximum possible accuracy. You do get the candidate to sign a disclosure and authorization form, just like a background check, and the solution only highlights job relevant or work relevant information. It also excludes protected class information from the solution as well. So the solution is tailored to ensure that you don't see anything that might influence or bias a hire on the basis of any of the protected classes in the Civil Rights Act of 1964.
All right, thank you. Is this currently up and running for current customers? Yes, this solution is currently available for everybody on the call. So if you are an existing customer, you can call in, speak with your relationship manager, and we will talk to you about how to get you set up. If you're looking to acquire this technology newly, again, just contact us and we can get you set up. You can be up and running screens as early as next week once we get your agency contracted. Pretty simple. All right, let's see next. Turnaround time, we just discussed that. Okay, so what and how many databases are accessed for this information? I think maybe the question here is, what all social media accounts do you guys actually search, and what else do you search out there?
Sure. Yeah, so it's the publicly available web. So consider all publicly available social media, news content, web content, and different public data databases online. So think of it as querying Google or any other exhaustive web search is very similar to what we were pairing with the social media check. And it is only publicly available. Yeah, I saw there was a question too about closed accounts. It's only what's available at that moment that the search is initiated. So we won't look back at any accounts that may have been deleted.
Okay, gotcha. So we're basically covering every social media account out there that we can track back to the applicant.
That's right.
Okay, let's see here. So are we able to test and evaluate? So the way that we set this up, there's no minimum requirement. So if you guys wanted to test out this solution, we can get you set up with agreement. You can run as few folks as you want to on it. And again, your cost would be $40. So at this time, we're not offering any free tests, but I believe you'll see the value once you run just a couple tests here. Okay, a lot of these we've already answered. Bear with me, just kind of going through it here. Do you want to take do you see Michael's question, Ben, in regards to the burner accounts?
Yeah, sure. So the question is, I've had success finding applicants' burner accounts under aliases by searching applicant personal reference social media profiles. Do we go a layer deeper and search rather than direct applicant names such as applicants, associates, or friends? No, we do not. So we are only going to look on the person that signed a disclosure and authorization form, and that is the candidate. We will not search other profiles or other content related to that individual.
Okay, so hopefully, Michael, that answers your question. We're just going through here. A lot of these have already been answered, similar questions. Can you show us an example of what a report will look like? Greg, yes, we can do that. What we'll do is when we follow up with this, we're going to share with everybody that we have over 500 people that were on this call today. So what we're going to be doing is providing some follow-up information so we can get a little bit more in the weeds on how this works. We will share some sample reports so you can see how those look. So yes, that will be forthcoming. So we've got one here from Anthony. In larger agencies, do we have the ability to run checks by unit or bureaus or precincts? The answer is yes. We can run checks on anybody. It's just a matter of how you want to do it. So we can run it on an existing workforce. We can run it on pre-employment applicants. Okay, we talked about private, so we don't uncover anything that is in the private domain. It must be publicly available information. And then, yes, to those of you, we're finding out that some folks were not even able to get in because we were so full. Again, we are recording this, and we will be sharing this this webinar with everybody who registered. So don't worry about that. Let's see here. Okay, so Darren is asking, then if an applicant has deleted their social media accounts prior to applying, we wouldn't be able to find any of that information because it's no longer available on the web. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And as far as news reports, here's another question. If Google search reveals news articles about a candidate, are those actual articles or links also included in the report?
Yep, it is. We'll include links and a meta description of the article in each report.
Okay, great. So not only are we saving the investigators time from going through all the different potential profiles, their walls, their posts, et cetera, back 7 years, we're going to basically do a search of the web for them as well. So that's huge time savings. So nothing on the dark web, Edward asks. I believe that would be a no.
Yep, nothing on the dark web.
Okay. And if they just deactivated a social media account, it must be active and live when we do the scan for us to capture it, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Okay, so far we've gone through just about every question that's unique. Let's see here. We've got some more chats here coming through. Let me see. So Kelly, I see your question. Yours is more specific to Guardian, our platform. How are we able to search applicants' prior history of applying to law enforcement agencies and if they were disqualified? So I'll speak to that in just a minute. The way that the Guardian platform works is every agency that's on the system and their applicants go through our system, they have to fill out what we refer to as our SMART PHQ or PHS, depending on how you guys call it. All that information is captured and gathered and certified as truth to be truthful by the applicant. Once that happens, that information has been volunteered to every single agency on the Guardian platform. So if an applicant was to go down the street and apply, and that agency was using Guardian, and then they went and applied anywhere else in the country, and that agency is using Guardian, we're actually going to track the answers to their PHQ all the way through all the different jobs that they apply for. Okay, and not only that, we're going to track any changes that are made. So as we all know that are investigators, what happens, right? You get an applicant, they get disqualified somewhere, they go over to another agency and they wise up. And so what they're going to do is they're going to leave that information out. They're going to omit those or change some answers to that. And the only way that you guys would catch that currently is with a file review. And obviously that's incredibly time consuming and tedious process. With the software, we're actually going to flag and time date stamp any changes that are made and make that appear directly to the investigator. So anything that has been changed or deleted, you'll have a record of that. So that's how that works. Hopefully that answers your question. Again, we definitely encourage you to call in, schedule a demo so we can show you how all this works. Let's see, we've got a few more questions in. All right. So how do you, Ben, how does FBINAA handle common applicant names like Mark Smith, where there can be multiple Mark Smiths on the web?
Yep, we hear that a lot. You know, how do I find a John Doe, a John Smith, a Mark Smith in the sea of Mark Smiths, John Does, or John Smiths? So the way the software works is it intakes the name, email, location, employer, education information, any previous employer information, alias, DOB. So we intake a good bit of info on the front end. And what the software does is it automatically triangulates on all the profiles or news articles that have a significant overlap of provided data points. Meaning that if we find, let's say, a LinkedIn profile with a person's name, email, employer, and education that matches what was provided to us, we'll use that as a confirmed profile, and all of the data points from that page then become kind of like a snowball effect, where it begins to use those data points that it then confirm to find other social media news or web profiles. So we'll do everything from image recognition to track down the right John Smith on a person's face and a profile picture. We'll do friend network analysis, where we'll say, okay, well, look, these two profiles not only have an overlap in the name and the location, but also in their mutual friends. So these two people look very similar. So a lot of techniques that we deploy to find the right person online using automation. But then what happens, just to get to 99.98% accuracy, which is our FCRA certification, and also the way that we allow really our clients to sleep well at night, that we actually put a human investigator in our office in Los Angeles that will confirm that the social media profiles belong to the subject in question. So you get the added layer and added benefit of both complete automation and human investigators trained to do this work to ensure that the profiles or news articles belong to the subject.
Perfect, thank you. So we got another question about cost, and just in case somebody missed in the beginning, I'll go ahead and repeat that. So currently the cost of the scan is $40 per applicant, and that can be lowered with volume. So you'll just need to contact us and we can talk to you more about that and discuss with you further how we can streamline your costs. It kind of depends on the agency and what you're doing. So $40 is our ceiling, just so everybody understands that. Same question from the same person. It is part of the Guardian system, and it is also available as a standalone. So again, if you're currently a Guardian client, or you're in a trial, or you're about to procure, this will be integrated into our solution, but you can also purchase this standalone through Guardian. So again, just contact us on our website, and we'll get you all the information there. So what about the situation Jason asked Ben, what if the person's using a name that's not their actual name, but their handle or nickname? So obviously we know the applicant's information, right? Because we're collecting all that as investigators, but how do you know that if they've created say a Facebook account that's not even under their name, how are you able to find that one?
Yeah, so same technique I kind of alluded to before. Oftentimes you can track back to a person's email address, or you can track back to a profile picture that might match another confirmed profile. There's a variety of algorithmic and then investigative, more human intel-based techniques that we can deploy to find that sort of information online. Someone might, for example, use a handle on a message board where they list, hey, email me at, and that email at matches to a handle, which then would match back to the individual and another type of profile. So think of it kind of like a snowball effect, where once you confirm one piece of information, you can use all of that data to confirm other types of information. So. Okay,
gotcha. One of the questions was how many agencies are currently using this technology. This is the launch of this technology to the law enforcement vertical. So this is very, very new. There's just a few agencies that are currently using it. So just now launching this out there. Now you guys have been in the market again for how long?
We've been around for 5 years. Yeah, we've been for 5 years. Okay. So we're lucky to count, a good selection of the Fortune 500 on the subscription client list, and we work with everyone from the biggest background screening companies in the world, all of them who resell our technology. We work with partners directly, large enterprises directly, firms like Guardian. But yeah, we've been around for about 5 years or so, and yeah, feel free to just check us out on Google. There's a couple of articles in the press about us that you can track our story over time. So happy to check that out.
Yeah. And we're very excited to be able to launch this to the law enforcement vertical. It's definitely needed. So let's see, it says we run TLO for all applicants. Can we add the multiple emails found through searches to the applicant information? It's my understanding that, Mark, you can add as much information as you would like. The more data that we run across FBINAA's AI engine and searches, the better. There's no limit, is there, as far as that goes, Ben?
No.
Okay. So yeah, the more we get, the better. Do we have any other questions out there? I know a lot of these we're getting the same question, which is great. I'm glad we're able to go ahead and make sure these are all covered. All right, well, I think we're good. We really appreciate everybody's time on the call today. Like I said, we will be sending this out to everyone. Ben, we appreciate you guys for sharing your expertise on today's webinar. We're very excited to have you as part of the Guardian Alliance. I have a lot of things to look forward to, and look forward to speaking with each and every one of you in the days to come and see how we can help you to streamline your process and better your process. So again, on behalf of the Guardian team, thank you. John, thank you to the FBI National Academy Associates and all your members. You guys have a great weekend. Have a safe holiday weekend. God bless y'all, and we appreciate everything that you do. Take care, stay safe, and we'll talk soon.
Thanks, everyone. Appreciate it.